It is the breakout game. The White Sox and Rockies have sent some of their best minor league talent to play against one another in the final day of breakout games around the Cactus and Grapefruit Leagues. The White Sox have a terrific minor league system, and you are going to see just about everybody in the top 100 for the White Sox this afternoon. Welcome in, everyone. Connor McKnight alongside Brooke Fletcher for the broadcast. We've got excitement on the field today. Some of the best young players in this White Sox system, the future of this organization on display for you this afternoon, Brooke.
Connor, we got good players on the field, but we also have some good weather compared to last season when it was rained out here. So a perfect day for some good baseball.
Yeah, we'll see some of the best both on the position player side and the pitching side, too. 6 in the top 100 according to the Pipeline rankings. And, Brooke, you've been here all spring and gotten to know each one of these talented young players.
Connor, and, all of these guys have created some sort of buzz around camp here. But this is going to be the first time we're going to be able to see all of these guys on the field at the same time. As I mentioned, these guys, they were at big league camp at some capacity this spring, and some are still there fighting for a spot and testing their skill set versus major leaguers. But today is all about the future of this organization. When I asked Will Venable about this game, he lit up because you could tell how excited he is. He said, not only do we have the talent, but these guys work well together. And he said some of them are on the cusp of being in Chicago sooner rather than later. So to give fans and to give these players a taste of what it's going to be like, it's going to be pretty special here today.
We've got some big-time arms starting things off for the White Sox. Hagen Smith gets the start, first-round draft pick of the Sox just last season. And Noah Schultz, as good as it gets. Could they be in Chicago this year? Stay tuned. We'll let you know. Getting close to first pitch for the breakout game. And there's Hagen Smith, the White Sox starter. So down to the field we go with the one, the only, our Chuck Garfien. Chuck.
Thanks, Connor. With the White Sox taking the field, the White Sox best prospects taking the field. Quite fitting, only fitting that the top 2 left-handed pitching prospects in all of baseball will go 1-2 today. Hagen Smith expected to get the first 2 innings, and then after him, it'll be Noah Schultz with the next 2. They have formed quite a bond here at spring training. Here's what Noah said about Hagen, quote, "I don't have a brother. I have 2 sisters, but at least for the season, Hagen is the closest thing I have to that. Bonds are forming early and often here at White Sox camp with these prospects, and we'll see what they can do here. 9 innings of prospect baseball here on CHSN. Up to you guys."
All right, Chuck, thank you. Hagen and Noah becoming quick friends and perhaps building bunk beds in the offseason. Bobby Meacham will helm the Rockies prospect. He'll be the Double-A Hartford Yard Goats manager for the Rockies. Take a look at the starting lineup and the corresponding prospect ranks. Cole Carrick's got a lot of speed at the top of this lineup. Kyle Karros, son of a big leaguer, all in the lineup as well. First pitch swinging for Cole Carrick. He flies to right, where Wilfred Veras will pick it up. 1 pitch, 1 out for Hagen Smith. A good start for one of the best lefties in the minors.
Yeah, he made his first MLB spring training appearance, and he told me, hey, I just want to use this opportunity to get to know the guys, but also just to prove myself. And I say he did just that in his first outing. He actually struck out the side, but Ethan Katz, on the pitching coach for the big league team, he's been so impressed with just the maturity he's shown, but also the edge he plays with. Reminds him of actually a former White Sox pitcher that we'll get to later on in the game, but we're going to see some of that intensity on the mound here today, Connor.
Rips one and gets a strike on a 1-1. Smith, a first-round pick of the White Sox last season, 5 overall out of Arkansas. And if you're dialed into the prospects, you've probably seen, his numbers in college. Hagen was just preposterous pitching in his final year at Arkansas. Struck out 16 in a game against Oregon State, one of the better offenses in college baseball that year. And what's impressed me the most is the swing and miss he'd been able to get on the fastball in the strike zone in college. And I know that's something that he's working on with the Sox here in spring, but at the off-speed stuff, that sliders are absolutely nasty here in a 2-2 count against Adael Amador. Might see him drop one there as well. The number 7 prospect in the Rockies system as well. Some minor league time for Amador. You can see those numbers there. Hagen and Schultz have been working on the same day most of spring. We'll see Noah in just a little bit. 2-2 on the way. Flipped him one, and Amador kept alive with a foul.
You mentioned that, Chuck was just talking about how Noah referred to Hagen as a brother that he never had. And these two actually spent 3 weeks together before pitchers and catchers actually reported. And, I asked Hagen, I was like, okay, so what did you do with all that time? How did you guys keep yourself busy? He's like, we got to know each other. You know how Hagen's so nonchalant about things. But when you're talking about the future of this organization, it's pretty valuable, these two guys just being able to spend that time together.
Lost him with one up and away, so one on and one out. Let's take a look at some of those numbers for Hagen Smith while in college. I mean, those strikeout numbers are exactly what you're looking for. And a big reason why Smith went 5 to the White Sox last season. There were some big bats in that draft, perhaps available to the Sox, and they were committed to taking Hagen Smith, the young lefty. He'll work with a runner on. First pitch swinging. Ground ball to short. Over to second. And a double play ball. That's Montgomery to Bergola. Hagen Smith rolls 2, gets out of the first. Sox coming to bat when we come back. You're looking at Sergio Santos, who will manage AAA Charlotte for the White Sox. It's the breakout game, and Santos is a bit of a prospect in his own right. Might be a future MLB manager. A lot of future MLBers in the lineup for the White Sox today.
It's a good-looking lineup, isn't it, Connor? We got Chase Mydrop leading things off. Talk about a guy that knows how to work an at-bat and get on base. He is leading 1 through 9 here. We also got Kyle Teal DHing, showing off that power already at spring training, looking to build off that. And how about George Walco finishing things off in the ninth spot?
First pitch from Gabriel Hughes in there for a strike. Hughes, the starter for the Rockies. You see his numbers there. Tommy John surgery interrupted his rise through the system. Got some solid stuff and a decent fastball. Hughes not the top pitching prospect for the Rockies. That's Chase Dolander, who's here but not pitching today. He's off turn and still in the mix for the opening day rotation for the Rockies. Hydra tips one into the mid. And down on strikes. Hydra still very much in the mix for the White Sox. There are a number of White Sox prospects in this lineup that may still be fighting to make the opening day roster. More on that as we go. But here he is facing Hughes with one away. William Bergoa, who has quickly become Brooke Fletcher and Chuck Garfine's favorite guy in camp. First pitch swinging, rolls one to second. And Bergola will be out on a pitch. But tell us why you guys have heard so much about that.
Well, it's not just us, though. He's been the buzz around camp here. And just because, Will Venable actually told us that he didn't realize he was 20 years old because of the maturity that he shows when he plays at the plate and in the field. And he attests a lot of that to his dad, Willie Bergoa Sr., who actually played within the Reds organization, just learning how to keep a balanced mindset, focus on the fundamentals. And you can see that influence when he plays ball.
Kyle Teal DHing. We're going to be the first man aboard for the Sox. One of the guys the White Sox got in the trade of Garrett Crochet to the Boston Red Sox this offseason. Teal, a top prospect, number 32 on MLB Pipeline's top 100, and the number 2 prospect in the White Sox system on that same list. You're going to see different rankings depending on where you look, but one of the things that really bolsters Teal's reputation is his ability to do everything well, both on the defensive side and offensive side.
Chris Getz calling his personality infectious around the clubhouse. We've gotten a little taste of that just with the energy he brings.
Kick by Hughes and a 2-1. Took a rip, did Kyle. There's some power in that swing. You look at the grades, the scouts would say something like 20 home run power, something like that for Kyle Teal. Certainly be good. His tool set has kind of changed through his years at college at Virginia. Thought of as a bat first kind of guy, bat to ball ability, but a lot of power grew for him in the last couple of years there and through the minors last season. But it'll be Gabriel Hughes with the last lap there and a strikeout. To the second we go. More prospects when we return. Let's get to know Hagen Smith just a little bit. Know Your Sox, a feature that we're running all year long for some of the new and well-known White Sox. Hagen working against Kyle Karros. the son of Eric Karros, a big leaguer. But let's get back to these answers. If you get a dinner with anyone, this was the quickest answer I got from Hagen about one of these questions. Sandy Koufax, the guy that he'd most like to have dinner with. Yeah, you're a lefty.
Of course.
That makes the most sense.
A legend.
He's a big fan of his golden retriever. I need to go out. I mean, everybody's dog is going to scream that at you if it had one sentence to say, right?
Makes sense. Dad, I need to go to the bathroom.
Hagen with a kick and a 1-0. Gets a foul on Karros. Karros and White Sox third baseman today, Chase Mydroth, played some high school ball together.
Yeah, they grew up with each other. I actually asked Chase if there was any smack talking going on before the game here. He said, no, I'm just excited just to be able to share this opportunity with my longtime friend.
I think that's baseball speak for, yeah, of course we're going to smack talk one another. Mira Costa actually had 5 players in a stretch of 3 years. That high school they all went to drafted, which is a pretty cool run. Hagen comes home on a 3-2. Line to right, twisting and foul. Karros' other brother, Jared, also played on that high school team. Mydroth playing third today for the White Sox, so hopefully those two get to jaw at one another just a little bit. There's a look at Chase. Rolled over, foul on that other side. I think, too, with Hagen, he's a soft-spoken guy. You talked about the dynamic between both he and Noah Schultz, catch partners. It'll be really interesting. We'll talk to Chris Getz about it, Paul Janisch, as this game goes on, to see where they're deployed to start the season, because they could be fast risers, both of them. 3-2 inside, so Karros will take a walk. More on Hagen Smith with Chuck Garfien.
By the way, props to Hagen Smith. His favorite players, Sandy Koufax, going old school, really old school. Koufax, obviously one of the best. Talking with Ethan Katz here at camp about Hagen, he said the ball just explodes out of his hand, and he says there are a lot of qualities that remind him of Carlos Rodon. Big slider from the left side, high velocity fastball as well. And we learned a little bit about Hagen, the competitor, because his spring debut through 2 scoreless innings against the Brewers, gave up 1 hit, 3 walks, 4 strikeouts. He didn't like the walks. He picked off a runner at first. He wasn't happy about it afterwards. He said he's super hard on himself. He didn't like the walks. He wants to be great.
I think that's been an emphasis, Chuck, for a lot of guys in minor league camp this year, is just kind of attacking the strike zone and letting the stuff eat. We're seeing that more as a philosophy throughout a lot of pitching staffs in Major League Baseball, just trusting that stuff, aiming it for the middle, and letting it work off to the edges. Hagen certainly has the ability to do that. Sterling Thompson lifts one into center. That's Braden Montgomery to make a routine catch, and it will send the leadoff walk and Kyle Karros back to first. Braden Montgomery getting a little work in center field today. Seen his profile get drawn up a lot out in right. He was a 2-way prospect coming out of college, both Stanford and Texas A&M for his final year. You got an arm like that, you throw him in right, it should be pretty good.
He told me he's just happy that he's healthy and just being able to prove, had some time at big league camp. I asked him what was his biggest takeaway, and he said, guys aren't that scary. They're not that intimidating. They're a lot like me.
It's funny, you get in there, you meet them, and they're just, hey, I'm trying to get a job just like I am. This is Warming Bernabal, the first baseman for the Rockies. I think what's cool about these breakout games, the White Sox and Rockies are alike in this, is that, yeah, there's a lot of the top 30 here at the game and participating, but some guys off that list as well. As Bernabal lifts one into the seats, foul. Hagen Smith trying to work around a leadoff walk of Kyle Karros.
Going back to Hagen and Noah, we asked Ethan Katz just what his message was to the guys when they sent them down to minor league camp. He just said, how impressed he was, just attack the strike zone, as you mentioned there. But, just how they handled tough situations. Now it's about getting built out. They did everything they could do to just go out and make a strong impression. And, we've talked about this, Connor, the days of rest in the minor leagues is different. You usually act on 6 days rest as opposed to the majors where you get 5 5 days rest. So that's something that they try to work up their workload during spring training here, and that they're going to work towards as they're working through the minors this season.
Vanderbilt got the numbers on one out to center, but Montgomery there to make the catch, and 2 away. Your Chicago White Sox are presented by Rate, one of the top mortgage lenders in the country. Think about buying a home, wondering how you could pay less each month, trying to find the right insurance coverage rather. All that and more, so much more, answered on Rate.com. Another Montgomery, Benny Montgomery, the 15th prospect in the Rockies system. Smith delivers home as the runner goes. Edgar Caro to make the throw down to second base, but Caro swipes second, and the Rockies have a runner in scoring position. Take another look at Caro getting it down to second quick as he can. Pitches up and a little bit on the third base side of the bag. Caro's another one of the top prospects in the Sox system, as you likely know, but there's not many teams in baseball that have the kind of catching quality that the White Sox do in their minor league system. Between Teal, who's DHing today, and Caro, who's behind the plate, those are 2 of the best catching prospects in the game.
White Sox minor league player of the year last season. You know, he was talking about, you know, there's so much depth, which is a good thing if you're a GM. Talking about at the catching position there, you mentioned Kyle Teal, him, you got Corey Lee, you know, those guys just fighting for a spot there. He said that's something that he's really thrived off of, you know, playing for the Cuban national team. He said, you know, just I learned that competitive spirit there of how hard it was to earn that starting role, or to you know, become the catcher there. So it gave him, he feels like, a little edge coming into the spring training as they're, you know, competing for a spot.
And regardless of what catcher you're talking to here in camp, the workload is huge because so many pitchers have a chance to be at AAA and the bigs this year. Just missed. Smith, you can tell, wanted that one. The homework assignments are huge for guys like Kyle Teal and Edgar Caro. You can't just know Hagen stuff. You got to know everybody's.
No, it's true. But he says that, you know, just with the catching position, it pushes all of them to be better, right? Just a little friendly competition. You know, he's really just relied on, you know, Corey Lee and some of those older guys just to really grow in his game as well.
Smith on a 3-2 breaks off a nasty breaking ball. Another strikeout for Hagen. Smith. We are scoreless as you watch Big Lefty do what he does best. Edgar Caro leading things off for the White Sox in the bottom of the second. Hughes delivers a first pitch strike to Caro. Catching today, Kyle Teal's in the lineup too. He's DHing. 3 and 4 in the lineup for 2 of the good young up and coming backstops. Caro, a switch hitter, produced a little bit more from the right side than the left in his minor league years so far. You see the prospect designations for him. Rolled one foul there, and look, at every level as a catcher you've got to do so much, and it's been difficult for Caro for a lot of reasons, and one of them is this is the thing I pay attention to a lot. Catchers usually take a lot of time to get through the minor leagues, but there you see he's been that much younger, 2 years, 3.5, almost 5.5 years younger than the average minor league position player at the respective spots he's been through his minor league careers. And that tells you a lot about a young catcher. One, he's got the skill set that his organization, the Angels and White Sox, after the trade 2 years ago, really see as being able to be pushed through the minor leagues. And he's produced. They're a hard grounder to short. And the throw gets away from Bernabal at first. Got a low throw from Ryan Ritter. And the Sox have a base runner here in the second as Caro reaches. It'll be ruled an error. We'll take another look at things. And inside and out of the ball. Backhanded it, set, and just ripped it a little low. So the Sox, let's see if they can take advantage of it. Here's Colson Montgomery up for the first time. Another lefty against Gabriel Hughes, the right-hander. First time he's put a runner on today. Sox went 1-2-3 in the first. Montgomery takes low. It surprised some when Colson Montgomery was sent back to minor league camp just a couple of days ago.
Yeah, coming into this season, Colson, or spring training, many said that it was his job to lose at short. Obviously, he faced a hiccup with his back spasms. He missed 10 days, and so, it set him back a little bit before, Chris Getz and this front office decided to option him to AAA. And, he said obviously he was disappointed, but he understands where they are coming from. From Chris Getz's perspective as a manager, this is a guy that you see long-term value, right? You want to make sure he has that success at AAA to build that confidence up.
Beaten as he rolls a grounder to second. That's a nice play by Adiel Amador to get it started. A 4-6-3 twin killing. So Montgomery rolls out. But the Sox have two. Braden Montgomery comes up with two away and the base is empty. We'll talk more about Colson as the afternoon rolls on. But as for Braden, this is his real first chance at affiliated baseball this season. He's got a lot of power potential. The home run numbers last season particularly are off the charts. 27 at Texas A&M last year. Did not play for the Red Sox in the minors last season. Busted up an ankle in the Super Regional last year while playing for A&M. So that cost him his first look at affiliated baseball, but he'll get it in this season with the Sox. See the big rip and big potential power.
Well, because he didn't have that, last season, as you were saying, he was using this spring training really as just a measuring stick, just to kind of see where he stands, especially amongst some big league hitters.
Kick by Hughes, and Montgomery gets into one to left center. On run for Carrick, who's got speed to spare, and he'll put it away in the alley. 3 up and 3 down. We'll head to the third here in the breakout game.
The big thing I'm working on this year in this camp is pitch sequencing. Definitely something that I think I'm fairly good at, but there's a next level. There's the big league level with it. And talking with the catchers, talking with Corey, talking with Matt, it's definitely great to hear their input. I had my first live and definitely was getting a lot of feedback of things that, not that I didn't understand, but just things that from hearing from the big leaguers that have been there for a while. Hearing from them, it's definitely a lot that I can learn from them, and they've taught me a lot in the few days we've been here so far.
That's one of the top prospects in all of baseball, Noah Schultz. He is about his business and working now against the Rockies, 2 scoreless for Hagen Smith here in the breakout game. Schultz, the top left-handing pitching prospect in all of baseball, and one of the guys that has a lot of people talking here at Camelback Ranch. Got it on the hands and a slow roller to first. Elko would take it over to the bag, and we will take you into the booth. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Chris Getz, White Sox general manager.
Guys,
here with us for the breakout game. Chris, appreciate it. How is spring so far? How we feeling?
Spring's going really well. Even from the beginning, we had so many prospects in Major League camp, and we're breaking down the roster now, and we have to make decisions, but. To have a game like this today, kind of bring them back to the center stage is a lot of fun for a lot of different reasons.
Well, we thought we'd be all talking prospects here today, and you guys go ahead and drop some news on us this afternoon with Sean Burke as the opening day starter in the rotation. 3 starts last year as Schultz fires home and gets a strike. So what's the thing? Kind of like the off-the-wall opening day starter sort of thing?
I try to throw everyone off every year. No one saw Garrett last year being the opening day starter, so we decided to do the same thing. But we had a couple deserving candidates, quite honestly. And Sean got a taste last year, pitched well. He's had a solid camp. There's a lot that goes into it, but really happy for Sean. And, look forward for him to kick off the 2025 season.
What were some of those deciding factors when you said there were other candidates? What made Sean stand out?
Well, we're facing the Angels, and then we've got Minnesota and Detroit. And as you try to optimize not only the starting staff, but the relievers and looking at, how we plan on filling out the relieving core, how they complement some of the starters. You know, for one, yeah, we could have gone a couple different ways on this, but with Sean and looking at the schedule and how everything kind of matched up, it made sense. But yeah, like I said, we could have cut it a couple different ways, and I know in future years we're going to have even more candidates, and perhaps Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith could be in the mix before you know it.
Oh, there's a tease, and we'll talk more about that when we come back. Chris Getz doing my job for me. Appreciate it, man. Back with more. Don't go anywhere. Hi, everyone. Connor McKnight, Brooke Fletcher, and White Sox General Manager Chris Getz for more here at the Breakout game at Camelback Ranch. Let's see, we've gone over the opening day starter for the White Sox in Sean Burke. We got a couple of changes on the field for the Rockies here. We'll move through those as we go. Wilfred Veras takes low and did not go around, so he'll start 1-0. Still looking for some base runners here in this ball game. But Chris, you know, still a lot of decisions to make. We are approaching the end of camp. We've talked about the rotation a bit. How does the bullpen set up right now? You guys have some options here.
We do, and literally we've got a lot of pitchers with options. That was part of the strategy this offseason, knowing how valuable that can be navigating a season. You know, it looks like having 4 right-handed starters in our rotation. You know, we're going to factor in some lefties. We don't know exactly who those guys are going to be, but we want to find balance throughout the entire pitching staff. So, yeah, we're factoring in a lot of different things, but we feel like we've got a lot of weapons to really maximize some matchups.
Swing and a miss on Veras as he goes to 2-2. And Shane Smith has pitched really well, a Rule 5 pick, and somebody that could have been in this rotation. Obviously, the Rule 5 pick, the dynamics are different, but there's high leverage stuff in that guy's arsenal.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, the Rule 5, you know, the mechanics of having a Rule 5 player on your roster can be, you know, a little challenging just because, yeah, you're really not going to be able to option them. But the beauty of Shane is, you know, there's versatility in there. He's going to be able to make starts for us this year. And also, he's not just offering length in a bullpen. I think that there's some leverage opportunity just because of the stuff. You're talking upper 90s, you know, with 2 breaking balls and a really good changeup that he hasn't really used a ton in his history, but is using a fair amount out here. So it's been really fun to watch and encouraging that, you know, we've got someone as talented as Shane Smith now added to the group.
Well, you got a guy like Shane Smith who's looking for an opportunity, but, you know, these guys here on the field, some guys on the cusp here. How do you evaluate if a guy is ready for that next level in the bigs?
Well, you know, you've got to understand the ceiling of the player, and you know, you've got to trust our evaluation process. There's so many factors that go into it, whether it be a scouting evaluation, projection systems, and you know, we know that the acclimation process to the big leagues could be a challenging one. It will be part of their development. However, you want to put them in a position that they can positively impact the game. It doesn't necessarily need to be on the offensive side. Let's say for a position player, they could bring something to the table defensively, base running. You know, we want to make sure that they're fairly close to being the player we feel like they can. They're going to be at the major league level, and you got to make sure that they have the confidence and they're ready to take on what it's like to be a major league player. So a lot of different factors. There's no perfect science, but we certainly want to put our players in the best position possible to have success.
George Wolko with a high fly to left, and he'll be retired. Chris, we got more to get to. We'll have to wait over a couple of days. We'll tease it for later. Thanks so much for being with us.
Of course.
Thanks, Chris.
More Breakout game when we come back. Prospects aplenty here in Glendale.
All right, Chuck Arfine back here at Camelback Ranch with Sergio Santos. He was the AA manager last year, AAA manager this year, and you're pulling double duty today, managing and third base coach. Sergio, you're busy.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. So I'm running back and forth quite a bit, but it's fun. This is always an exciting time and an exciting game.
Yeah, we've got a pitcher's duel. We got Noah Schultz on the mound right now, but first let's talk about Hagen Smith. 2 scoreless innings from him. What'd you see?
Yeah, he looked really good. I mean, when you see the fastball, it just kind of explodes out of his hand, and from the indicators from the hitters, right, everybody was kind of late. And, you know, struggled a little early to get that off-speed pitch over it and then kind of figured out that second inning. So when he's got everything rolling, he's pretty tough to hit.
Right, so now we're watching Noah Schultz. Had a scoreless, hitless third inning. What do you like about him?
Yeah, I mean, I got to see them all last year, and when this guy's clicking on all cylinders, it's pretty unfair for the hitters. And like we said, I think he just needs more innings, and before you know it, he'll be up in Chicago.
Yeah, Sox fans can't wait for that. But so you were managing the team in Double-A. They won a championship. What made that team so special? Noah was a part of it.
Yeah, it was just such a great group of guys. I mean, we had an incredible staff to begin with, and then, you know, that first half team, we had some incredible players, and you know, so we put some beatings on teams, and then it kind of changed in that second half. Colson, stop it! Colson, stop it! Yeah, and so in that second half, it was just a group of guys that believed in themselves, and they really played so hard. So I was extremely grateful to be the manager of that team. You know, they deserve every bit of success they had.
I want to follow up on that play from Colson in the hole.
What an athlete, right? Like, to be that big and be able to be that mobile and still have enough on the throw. He's an incredible player. He's going to put it together, and you know, we'll be seeing him in Chicago too.
So he's going to start in AAA. You'll be managing him. What do you want to see from him at AAA to get into the major leagues?
Yeah, I think it's just consistency, right? Like if and again, it's, you know, and I'll let him know that box score isn't the main indicator if he's doing well. If he's having great quality at bats, playing defense like he can, I mean, I think they're ready for him to be up there. It's just a matter of kind of him getting off to a great start, and then you know, hopefully he'll be on his way.
Now, we hear the word talent a lot, talent this, talent that, but there's also stuff inside their brains, in their hearts. Hunger, for instance. Do you see some hunger among these prospects?
Yeah, I mean, every single one of them, right? Like, they get a taste of big league camp, and then they get back on the minor league side, and it's always sweeter up on the big league side. So, you know, I think it's just a matter of them putting it together, kind of having games, getting in the rhythm, and then they're off.
Sergio, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Back up to you guys.
Appreciate it, Chuck, and thanks to Sergio for the highlight reel call. Colson Montgomery showing some leather.
Looking good out there.
Really nice play to get Adael Amador. Drew Romo, designated hitter, as Schultz fires home. Swing and a miss. Upstairs gets him. So two of the White Sox top prospects, showing you exactly why they've earned their rankings. We've talked a lot to Noah Schultz here over the last, I don't know, call it 3 weeks or so. And whether it's flashing heaters, dropping sliders, strikeouts are kind of his game, but the depth in his starts, like Sergio was talking about, it's about the innings for Noah Schultz here in 25.
Yeah, it's just about getting his workload up. You know, Ethan Katz was just talking about just a guy in his stature, right? The control that he has. Some people, you know, you don't want to do comps, but some people calling him like a Randy Johnson. But just the way he approaches his attack there, has been super impressive. You know, just talking to him, he doesn't lack confidence. You would think, you know, a guy, you know, his first trip to big league camp, you know, would be a little weary and stuff. But even in the clubhouse, just when he's talking, he's so confident in what he has and what he brings to the mound. It just shows why he stands out amongst some of the rest.
Talk to prospect evaluators around all baseball, and it's really hard to project future value onto players that haven't pitched as much as Noah Schultz has. Just not a whole lot of innings, which tells you the kind of stuff he's got, the kind of command, and like you mentioned, the athleticism that he's got, that leads a lot of prospect evaluators to pump him up to the #1 guy. You asked him the Know Your Sox, so take us through how all these came out.
Well, you know how guys their age, they love their emojis here, so of course I had to ask him which one he uses the most. I think that's the laughing one, you know, just that's the most used laughing emoji that he has. And his dream vacation, he says going to Tokyo. He actually told me Riku Nishida, he is going to take him next year. He said he's going back, so Noah said he's going to go with him, and he's going to try some sushi. I heard the sushi in Japan is actually pretty good, Connor.
Yeah, that's the rumor.
That's what people say.
And Schultz gets another K to end the inning. Back-to-back strikeouts for the left-handed prospect for the White Sox.
Hey everybody, download the Chicago Sports Network app so you can stream live White Sox games and stay up to date on all your favorite Chicago sports teams. Download the CHSN app and stream today.
New pitcher for the Rockies, Jack Mahoney, up and in on Chase Mydroth. If he wasn't awake yet, now he is. Plate discipline and his on-base percentage, those are the biggest skill sets for Chase Mydroth, although it doesn't take a whole lot of plate discipline to not offer it that one up around your neck. Mahoney delivers. My drop takes. Grounded out in his first trip. Playing third today. I've been talking with Chris Getz, general manager, and we'll have more from the White Sox front office as this game goes on. But My Drop is a guy that could very well be on the opening day roster when the Sox break camp here in just about a week and a half. Roller over to third. And one away brings up William Bergolla. 0 for 1 so far, but a Know Your Sox participant. And Brooke, I believe you got a chance to talk to William just last week.
This one was fun, and we learned all sorts of things about Bergolla here, and he was telling me his favorite superhero, or if he could be one, he would be the Flash, so much that he actually has a lightning bolt tattoo on his hand. Yes, because obviously for his speed, but Bergolla, we've seen him actually turn on the Jets here. A place he wants to travel to, Santorini, Greece. There wasn't really an explanation. I think if you just take a look at Santorini,
it looks nice.
When you Google it, I think that's self-explanatory. And comfort food, lasagna, but not any lasagna, made by his mother.
Oh, mom's lasagna, that's the best.
It's the best.
Some of the numbers for William have been pretty enticing here over the last little bit. Another really high quality bat control player. High averages, won the Sally League batting title last year, hitting 300. 295 with the Blue Claws and 316 with a Winston-Salem dash. Bergolla came over in the trade that sent Tanner Banks to the Phillies last season. Takes up and away. Chuck's got more. Chuck.
Yeah, so William might be under the radar for many White Sox fans, but he has been the talk of minor league camp, and he has made a big impact in major league camp. He came off the bench against the A's, drove in 3 runs. Next day against the Padres, his first at bat was against someone named Dylan Cease, and he laced a 2-run double against Cease. He made a great defensive play, diving play on a ground ball, almost threw out his hero, Luis Ariz, at first, who's one of his favorite players. He just makes things happen, and here he is. He's going to be on first base in a second as he draws a walk.
Yeah, use the challenge to his advantage.
You know, you were talking, Chuck, about Luis Ariz being one of his favorite players, and there was that defensive play where he kind of wanted it back. And I asked him, I said, well, you're playing against like your favorite player. Did he say anything to you? He goes, yeah, he actually saw that how we were shifting in the infield. And, you know, Luis Ariz being the great batter that he is, the great hitter that he is, he found the gap. And so Bergolla, you know, as he's just trying to, you know, soak up as much information as he can, he goes, man, I want to be a smart player like Luis Ariz.
27 for 33 out of stolen bases last year, so maybe we see him run with Teal hitting for the second time. Teal struck out in the first, DHing. What makes Bergolla really interesting for the Sox is that they have not been afraid to play him at shortstop since coming over from the Phillies. Philly had him playing mostly at second, and obviously you play short, that brings the prospect value up a bit as Teal lines this second, but Bergolla back to first. Traditions start here. Join us back at Wright Field for opening day on March 27th as we take on the Los Angeles Angels at 3. Celebrate the start of the season filled with iconic matchups, special giveaways, and 125th anniversary excitement. For more information and to secure your tickets, visit whitesox.com/opening day. Pitchers have had the upper hand so far today as a throw over sends Bergolla back. Edgar Caro up for the second time. A lot of conversation throughout minor league camps. I think it's worth remembering there is no such thing as having too many shortstop prospects in an organization. That is a very good problem to have.
Yep, because, you know, people say to be a shortstop, it's one of the most athletic positions on the field there. And, you know, talking about William, just, you know, what we've seen in the big league games, the athleticism, that's what caught my eye, because everybody's like, hey, keep an eye out for him. But when I watched him make some defensive plays, he makes the hard plays look easy. You can tell it's in his blood. This is a guy that, you know, just understands the game, his baseball IQ, he also gets praised for. I mean, he's a freak athlete.
That's the other thing, too. William gets a lot of praise for his ability to know what's coming to him on the diamond, where he's going with the baseball, that baseball IQ. As you see Caro flay one down the line and left. Bergolla's going to hit third. That's a double. Caro through a shaded infield, gives the White Sox their first big scoring opportunity of the day. See him just stay inside the baseball. An extra base hit gives the Sox runners at second and third with 2 out. And a big opportunity for Colson Montgomery, who made a highlight reel play at short just a little while ago. Mahoney set and starts his work with 1 up against Montgomery. Colson was really the talk of camp when things started.
He was, and he was getting a lot of praise actually for what he was doing defensively. But Colson, he coming into camp, he's coming off a great Arizona Fall League where he said he was really felt like he was trying to make adjustments at the plate, felt like he was in a really good place. Defensively, he said, I have to hone in on not making those minor mistakes, focus on those routine plays. But from when we were talking to Chris Getz and just, the coaching staff, they were impressed with what they saw from him defensively. It's just, when Chris was here, making that decision from the minors to the big leagues, you got to make sure you're not putting them in a position where they're going to ruin their confidence when they're not ready. You got to make sure they're mentally and physically sound when they get that call, Connor.
Yeah, the White Sox have been willing to be aggressive with some prospects, especially on the pitching side, dating back to last year. They have played it somewhat conservatively with Colson Montgomery so far. They'll begin the year with Sergio Santos at AAA Charlotte. Swung and fouled one. Went up the ladder a bit. Swing and miss is going to be a thing for Montgomery. Long levers, tall guy, basketball player in Indiana, an exceptional athlete. But I think defensively for him, it's going to be about that first step. I talked to him some about how he's feeling there with the glove, and it's about being aggressive, but in the right places, taking that really good aggressive first step that goes the right direction. As for at the plate, I hope he's got a little pop here. 2-2. Saw him hit a homer early on in spring. Absolutely blistered that baseball.
That's what's unfortunate, because he was feeling that confidence, right? Great way to start off this spring here, and just had that minor setback with his back spasms here. He had a history of that, but he said, out here in this Arizona heat, you got to remind yourself to hydrate. He was saying you don't really realize, because you don't really sweat. He goes, that's something that he was working with the trainers. You got to make sure you're drinking a lot of water out here.
2-2 tried to hold back on that breaker from Mahoney. Yeah, hydrate and wear sunscreen are 2 really important tips.
You learned yesterday.
For anyone who's making their first trip out to Arizona in March. I'll remember next week.
Chuck warned you.
Yeah, he did. Chuck always knows what to do best, and I didn't listen. I'm a little toasty.
I reminded Chuck to wear his sunscreen down there. Hopefully he listened.
Colson's got a 2-2 count, chance to do damage.
I've already put 2 coats on.
Good. 65, I'm sure.
I'm watching William Bergola, and he's at third base. There's no one at third base, so he's taking a big lead. And every other pitch or every third pitch, he is trying to throw the pitcher off as if he's maybe going to try stealing home. It's very interesting to watch the little things that he's doing. And so far, he's got a 2-2 count to Montgomery.
Took a strike 3 at the knees. So the Sox have a scoring chance turned aside, and we head to the 5th.
Welcome back. The top of the 5th about to get underway here. But Colson Montgomery, man, he has proven to be quite the shortstop. We've already seen it so far in this game. But before baseball, his first love was basketball. Started playing at a young age and continued through high school. His dad even converted a barn in their backyard into a half court for him to practice. And he was recruited by multiple college programs, even had an opportunity to play at Indiana, but ultimately chose to follow his dream of playing baseball. And he told me his background in basketball gives him an edge at shortstop. We talked about it vaguely already. He said the speed and explosiveness he developed on the court has really just helped him in one of the most athletic positions on the field, especially at his height, 6'4", 6'5", where mobility can really be a challenge, Connor.
Showed off the glove already today. First pitch to Starlin Thompson from Riley Gowans. Came over to the White Sox in a deal with the Braves. It was the Aaron Bummer trade, and Gowans is impressed. kind of a kitchen sink approach. Throws a lot, 4 strikes. Thompson puts a jolt into this one, and it's going to get into the gap. Braden Montgomery chases it down off the wall, and the leadoff man here in the 5th, Starlin Thompson, 17th ranked prospect in the Rockies organization, is on and in scoring position. A lot of plate for Gowans on that particular pitch. Likes to work east and west, but Thompson took him north and south with that extra base hit. Gowans a local guy, Libertyville, Illinois. Born there, went to the University of Illinois. He had a good run in the Big Ten lately, baseball-wise. Up and in on Warming Bernabal, who has flown out. That was back in the 2nd. So the top 2 arms in the system, and listen, you're going to have your stars in your minor league system. As Bernabal pops it up, left side. Hydroth shades his eyes from a very bright Arizona sun, makes the play for first out of the inning. But you're also going to have guys kind of come up from, nowhere, I guess, is kind of how you say it. And Gowans could be a guy like that, featuring as much strike throwing as he has with the Sox this last year.
Well, it's funny you mentioned, at University of Illinois, he actually wasn't quite the star. Had a 5.69 ERA, but was off to a great start when he actually started in the Braves organization, then coming over here. But he is in the White Sox system. He has been kind of like an underdog, as you were saying, and just progressively working his way up through the minor league system.
Benny Montgomery takes a strike from Gowans. Riley was one of the many talented pitchers at Birmingham last year for the White Sox at Double-A, a 3.14 earned run average in 51 2/3 innings. He's looking to keep Starlin Thompson at a leadoff double and strand him. Up and in on Montgomery. Hagen Smith went 2, Noah Schultz went 2, and now Gowans should have something similar for his workload this afternoon. White Sox had a couple on in that last inning, a walk and a double by Edgar Caro, but Rockies pitching able to turn that aside. Been a pitcher's duel. Just now we've got some guys bored. Caro with a decent block on one in the dirt from Gowans, and that's been a kind of a journey for Caro as well. We showed you the numbers on where he's been or how young he's been at the places he's played, which means that he's catching guys that are older than he is with stuff that's maybe more advanced than he's caught yet, and that can be a challenge for catching development. Good breaking ball, but couldn't get him to chase. So a walk puts another aboard, 2 on and 1 away. Sox fans, upgrade your game day with a private diamond suite, the perfect space to host your closest friends and family with customizable food and beverage options. For more information, visit whitesox.com/suites or call 312-674-1000.
Going back to Edgar Caro and just as a catcher, you're kind of the captain on that team, expected to have some leadership. He talked about his favorite player, also fellow Cuban, and Yadier Molina, just the way he's, his team first mindset. But the White Sox have had a rich history in Cuban players. You got Luis Robert, Yohan Moncada, Jose Abreu, and Yasmani Grandal, and he said that was, really appealing when he came to the White Sox organization and just trying to carry on that legacy of Cuban players.
That's a good guy to idolize if you're a catcher. Yadier Molina, pretty solid at his position.
I would say so.
Fairly decent.
Decent at best.
Yeah, it's no doubt there's the workload there. The homework can be overwhelming for a lot of catchers. And then you think about Caro, a switch hitter.
Yeah.
So he's got 2 swings to maintain while working with every single pitcher in camp, and also trying to work on his defense. It seems like a lot of work. Gowans set, and a 2-0 to Ryan Ritter. Foul tip.
Another thing about Edgar Carroll, he's working on his catching, he's working on his hitting, and he has worked tirelessly on his English. In 2021, he barely spoke English, but he realized for him to be a major league catcher, he needed to be able to communicate with the pitchers. So he worked and worked at his English, and now he is fluent in the language after just, 3 years of not being able to speak the language. And he says every night when he goes to bed, I just think about that moment when I get called up to the majors. All these guys, everyone on this field, Rockies, White Sox, they're just dreaming of that day they get called up to the major leagues. Everyone has a story, and Edgar's, when he gets there, is going to be a great one to tell that story.
And he'll never forget it either. Fly ball out to center. Braden Montgomery backpedaling, makes a catch. Runner will tag from second. So Gowans gets a needed second out. Ritter flies to center.
He actually told me, we were doing Know Your Sox. He actually told me that's on his bucket list, or I asked him what is on his bucket list, and he said to make his MLB debut, I think that should be at the top of the list, right, for a guy?
Yeah, Carroll was in the White Sox clubhouse last season late. I want to say 3 weeks, maybe even the last month or so. He was not on the active roster, but as a lot of teams will do, they'll bring some of the prospects up. He was in catchers meetings, understanding kind of how the White Sox go about attacking hitters, what that process looks like. As this ball from Betancourt is blistered to center, and Braden Montgomery makes a diving catch to end the inning. Some defense on display from the White Sox youngsters.
All right, we're back at Camelback Ranch, and I'm here with the director of hitting for the White Sox, Ryan Fuller. And before I get to you, let's talk about the guy who just made the catch, and he's at the plate right now, Braden Montgomery. What impresses you about Braden?
Yeah, we'll see if he gets a hit here. Usually when you make a great play, you usually end up with a good hit, but unbelievable athlete. But the thing that stands out with Braden is just an incredible worker. He loves to swing. He wants information to get better and always working at strengths and weaknesses. So just a really special skill set.
I want to see his arm, too. I saw it a little bit there, and he's got a cannon for an arm. But you took this job here with the Orioles last year. You come over here and have this new position with the White Sox, director of hitting. So can you explain to Sox fans what your job is here as the new director of hitting for the White Sox?
Yeah, it's been such a fun transition, meeting everybody here, working not just with the big leagues, but the minor leaguers as well. So kind of working with Marcus and Joel, the big league hitting coaches, working with our coordinators at the minor league level just to set the standard for what the White Sox hitters believe in, and making sure we're doing everything from the DR on up to Chicago the same way, the way we train, the way we game plan, how we go about our business every day, just unified from top to bottom. And everybody's been unbelievable with the energy and effort they're bringing in every day, and the players have felt it as well.
So what kind of hitters are you guys looking for?
Yeah, the main process, and I don't think this is anything crazy, what people look at when you're looking at a great hitter is you command the strike zone, you're able to take balls, hit strikes, and when you're doing that, you're going to hit balls hard on a line in the air. So the more we can do that, stingy at bats that produce walks when they don't throw you strikes, and then when they put it in the zone, swings like that, hard on a line, they start to show up even more and more. So a process just like Braden just showed, the more we can do that, the better position we're going to be in.
Yeah, he's a strong kid, big swing, big power. What kind of power have you seen from him that others haven't seen yet?
Yeah, you see it obviously when he walks into the cage. It's a different sound off his bat, but the ability to do that from both sides is super encouraging for us. But just an unbelievable athlete, and from top to bottom across the yard, you're going to find guys now with Ferris up at bat, just loud skill sets and the ability to change the game with one swing of the bat.
Yeah, I've been watching Wilfred since he came into the organization, and yeah, he's got the big power, speed. He's young, but obviously controlling the strike zone, that's the next step for him, right?
Controlling the strike zone and then looking at how can we make good contact all across the zone. So he does a really good job of crushing balls close to him on the inner half, but then how can we do that when they throw it middle away, still over the heart of the plate, and hit balls hard in that zone as well.
So you come into this system, and there's a nice hard hit, but he's going to be out at first. But you come into the system, these are all new players. What kind of progress? I know it's only spring training, but what kind of progress are you seeing across the board so far, if any?
You look at what are the players working on. Everybody's going to have individual things that they're working on, but then you see it on a daily basis. You know, you look at George Wolkow, and it's okay, contact against breaking balls have to improve. You see it in the backfield games, a left-on-left matchup where he's making contact on pitches that he didn't make contact on last year. You see the training show up more and more in the games, but by and large, doing a good job of commanding the strike zone on the backfield games, hitting balls hard, and just bringing what we value out into play every day.
George on deck. He hit one to the warning track in his first at bat. Tim Elko, I've always been fascinated by him. His career in Mississippi, he's had a nice minor league career for the White Sox, and I saw it's batting practice. I think he hit one about 450.
Yeah, it's incredible power with him. It's the same thing of controlling the strike zone and then making sure that he's making enough contact that lets that power come out more often. So it's kind of like shots on goal in soccer or hockey. You want to make sure you're getting enough shots to let the good ones come out. So working hard, breaking balls, velo when they throw it in the zone, being able to capture those and put the ball forward hard on a line.
Okay, we'll see what Tim does here. Ryan, I appreciate your time and your information and your knowledge, and looking forward to what these guys are going to be doing eventually getting to Chicago.
Thank you, Chuck. Go Sox.
Okay, back up to you, Connor.
All right, Chuck.
I love the Go Sox.
And Ryan, thank you. Yeah, this is a new addition for the White Sox organizationally. Ryan Fuller, the director of hitting, kind of the counterpart to Brian Bannister, the director of pitching. Kind of the way of the future for a lot of front offices. Tim Elko fouls one off. His second time off. This man is a legend back at Ole Miss. An absolute gamer. Played most of the national champion schedule, that College World Series, on a torn ACL, and still helped lead them. 2 years after Ole Miss wins that title, Tim Elko gets a statue.
That's what's crazy to me. I mean, that's when you know you've made it, when you get a statue.
Well, and if I'm Tim and I'm looking at that statue,
that's a
you
pretty
want to make hit on the hands, and Elko goes down. I hope he's all right. As that got up and in, training staff will check on him. He's got that protective pad on the left hand, so hopefully that's what it caught more than anything else. And Elko's good to go for the rest of the day. Let's take one more look, see where it nabbed him. High and tight and tough to tell. It's uncomfy for sure. Sometimes you get that ball that's up there right around the handle of the bat, the padding, your hammock area, and it squeezes it as much as anything else, and it can be super bad. I think hopefully most of it got pad, but they'll make sure everything feels, well, listen, everything's going to hurt still. Does this hurt? Yes, of course it hurts. He's got hit by a baseball. You don't want anything moving around in there.
Elko's tough.
Yeah, oven mitt applied, so he seems good to go. I mean, listen, as for the statue, you know what they nailed on that? The mustache. It's hard to put a mustache on a statue, but they did it for Tim.
I mean, we've seen a few botched statues in our time. We've seen it in the NBA. Dwayne Wade, bless you. But they nailed Tim Elko's. We gotta give them credit down in Oxford for that. But, you know, talking about how tough he is, I mean, played on a torn ACL in 2021.
And still hit for power.
Right?
That's incredible.
Team captain. Let's take another look at that statue.
That's spot on. It's spot on. I feel like we need Tim to head back to the statue at some point to take the picture alongside. You know, here's how it's grown over the years.
Right. What do you want them to nail if you got a statue, Connor? Like, what do they have to get right?
The size of the nose.
Size of the nose? Okay.
You know, it's essentially an aircraft carrier, so I want to make sure that it's out there for everybody. Well, listen, I can, you know, I'm cool with it.
Mine would be the hair, you know?
Yeah.
Give me some volume.
Sure. Little zhuzhing on the statue.
Zhuzh.
A little zhuzh.
Botch face, but as long as the hair's good, that's all I care about.
Connor, this is what has to be on your statue. A cup of coffee in your hand.
That's right. That's right. It's much kinder than I am to myself. Thanks, Chuck.
With his espresso machine.
Elko at first.
Just
Just putting the business out on the street.
It's okay, we're all coffee snobs.
Wolko batting. Power and power in the 8 and 9 spots here for the White Sox in the breakout game. Hey, Chuck, you were talking to Ryan Fuller about making more contact and getting to that power. That applies to Wolko as much as it does Tim Elko here. I mean, it's incredible that Wolko was able to produce for as young as he was at the rookie league last year. 13 homers, 11 in that rookie league, and you just don't see that happen for high school picks.
He turned 19 in January. Think about that. So what should have been his senior year in high school, all his classmates were at Downers Grove North. He was in his first season of professional baseball playing for Kannapolis last season. That's what we're looking at with George. We're going to be talking to George once his game is over, and he'll have a lot more to share. There's a lot in that 6'7" body of his, and his mind too. He's mature beyond his years.
No, he was talking, he feels like people just label him as a power bat, but he wants to prove he's also quite the athletic player. He's been working on diving and running mechanics, utilizing his speed from performance camp drills just to, potentially he said, hey, I can be in center, showing off the Jets there. Okay, let's get to little Know Your Sox, getting to know him. You want to take it away, Connor?
Yeah, the 5 guys order he was very specific about, and I respect that as a burger aficionado. But the best is the favorite Halloween costume. Throw over to first, which gives us time to hopefully take a look. George Wolko went as a giraffe for Halloween some years ago. A giraffe wearing a LeBron jersey. He told us it was right about the time of the trade where LeBron went to the Lakers.
Picture it didn't happen. I think we have
Wolko drives one into center on the ground. And Elko will stretch it into third. Throw goes wide from center. That's Kolkarig. Runners on the corners. Here's the proof. We told you it happened. And now take a look. There he is. You can't miss him. He's the tall guy with the enormous giraffe on his head and a Lakers jersey.
He told us that guy to his left is one of his really good friends, Lincoln, in the panda suit. And he said Lincoln might be watching. So if you are, he wanted to make sure he included this picture with you in it, Lincoln, just to give you a nice little shout out there.
And to be even more clear, George did not apologize to Lincoln for putting that out there, nor should he. That's a good crew is what it is. Trick or treating. We had a pitching change.
Hey, Connor, Brooke, you want to guess how old George was in that photo?
I'm going to guess 14.
14. I guessed 14. Connor?
I'll take one. I'm going to take the under if we're doing game show rules, right? Maybe he was 12.
12?
I don't know.
Okay, I love your reaction, Brooke. He was 12. This is a 12-year-old you're looking at.
Wow.
Stop. He's not 12 in
He's
this
12
photo.
years
I don't
old.
believe it.
But
oh, my gosh.
There's so much going on there. So he wants to be a giraffe and LeBron?
I asked if he was a LeBron stan with the jersey, and he was like, no. And like you said, it was just because, I guess, around the – what'd you say? Around the time he went
right
to the
around
Lakers?
The trade, yep.
Yeah, when he went – so – I don't know.
Oh, was it a free agent signing for LeBron to the Lakers? I always forget. We'll ask George after the game.
I'm not the LeBron expert here, but I did ask if this was before or after his growth spurt, like a giraffe, coincidentally, because you're just like freakishly tall.
I just like that the giraffe wasn't enough.
Yeah.
He could have just gone as a giraffe. No, I'm going to throw in a LeBron James jersey on top of it, and that's my look for 12-year-old Halloween.
You know what's really going to make this the LeBron jersey? I think it'll be really fascinating to watch Wolko this season. Not just because, okay, we'll be watching to see if he makes more contact. Does the power really play the way it has? He got to A-ball last season. A couple of future top 100 prospects there on the berm. But I think we could see him, like you said, Brooke, in center field, really kind of testing that ability.
Yeah.
And that may not mean that, they think of him as a center fielder, but it does expose him to a lot more outfield play and keep him athletic at that size.
100%, because Paul Yanish said, that's what, even though we may not see him at center field in the bigs or in the future here, he said, but it's going to help with his development. But, what I love about George is he doesn't back down from anything. You talk to him and it feels like you're talking to a big leaguer, right? He's open. He feels like he has a lot to prove. He talks about, obviously, how much he loves Chicago. This is a guy that you want to be the face or one of the cornerstones of your organization. He just gets it.
Just got a note from the Sox, too. The exit velocity on that single in the right, 114.8 off the bat. That is elite.
That's it?
Exit velocity. Idroth goes upstairs. He's 0 for 2 today.
We're talking LeBron guy. Chase told me he's a big Kobe guy. Kobe is his GOAT.
Some Lakers fans. Well, he's a California kid, Miracosta High School. Makes sense. 1-2, puts it in play. High fly ball out to right. Benny Montgomery will circle underneath and make the catch. Another chance for the Sox, but nothing across yet. We've hit the 6th. Still no score in the breakout game here at Camelback Ranch. I'm Connor McKnight. Brooke Fletcher alongside Chuck Garfien down on the field. Chuck will bring us some of the White Sox prospects as they exit the game. Starters still in on defense, and Riley Gowan's working a second inning. Cole Carrig checks his swing on a high pitch. Carrig's an interesting prospect in this Rockies system. He's played all over. He's caught. He's played in the outfield. He's played in the infield. Yeah, baseball now has a combine for some of the prospects before they hit the draft. And Carrig was measured at 100 miles an hour on a throw, flat-footed from shortstop over to first.
They call him a Swiss Army knife.
Yes.
They just don't know what to do with it. Like, he plays like his hair's on fire. That's the type of energy he brings.
Good base runner, too. And might be a minute before he gets to the bigs, but lashes one out to right. Wilfred Veras back. He'll have to play it off the wall. And a leadoff double for the Rockies for a second straight inning. That's Cole Carrig on second. Let's head down to the field. Chuck.
I want to talk about Braden Montgomery a little bit more. He made that great diving catch in center field an inning or so ago. And he is a very confident kid. I was watching him on MLB Network in the offseason. And Harold Reynolds said to him of MLB Network, he said, you're going to be in the majors this year. And when Harold said that, I raised my eyebrows like, wow, he even played minor league baseball last year because he got drafted out of Texas A&M. He was hurt, didn't play minor league baseball. So when Braden was here at camp, I asked him, hey, do you think you can really make it to the majors? And he said, yes. And he said that's what drives him, not being there yet. He says, that is where I want to be. That's where I need to be. And I won't stop until I get there. The drive that this kid has, and, with the makeup that he has and how hard he works, I just, when you see the glimpses, his arm, the catch he made, the power, there's so much in him. And, the Red Sox drafted him in the first round. White Sox got him in that Garrett Crochet trade, and can't wait to see what he can do going forward.
Well, it's a good point, Chuck. I mean, the White Sox essentially had the 5th and 12th pick in last year's draft. Hagen Smith going 5 and Braden Montgomery having gone 12.
And he would have gone maybe in the top 5 if he hadn't hurt his ankle in the postseason with Texas A&M.
Yeah, I think that, too, that plays into the idea. Listen, he's, 54 on the top 100 on MLB Pipeline. And I think if you ask around what prospect in the White Sox system can make that biggest jump in terms of ratings, Braden Montgomery is going to be an answer you hear more often than not. Adiel Amador with a high fly ball out to right, and that is over the head of Veras for a 2-run shot off Riley Gowan. So the Rockies strike first with a 2-run homer from Amador, the second baseman and 7th ranked prospect for the Rockies in their top 30.
Going back to Braden here, it's a quiet confidence when you see him walk around the clubhouse. It's just, he doesn't say much, but when you do talk to him, you're like, this is a guy that knows he has a lot to bring to an organization. And who else you can learn from is when you got a guy like Bo Jackson. We saw him, he was getting some advice, and Bo he's one of the greatest of all time, and he just said, hey, I just told him, got to keep doing what you're doing. He was a little hesitant on telling us what he told the entire clubhouse. He said we got to keep that in-house, but he said, man, just to get advice from a legend like that can do a lot for a player.
This is Drew Romo. The base is empty now after the homer. Romo, the DH for the Rockies. I think as we spend a little bit more time here on Braden Montgomery, another thing to note about one of the White Sox top prospects is that he is a switch hitter. He's been better as a lefty than as a righty through his collegiate career. I talked to him a little bit at Sox Fest back in January. And he really loves being a switch hitter. He is about that kind of work, and it really keeps him engaged in the process of, kind of tinkering with that swing, making sure things are in the right place at the right time, all that kind of stuff. And, being a lefty and righty at the plate helps keep him essentially focused, is what he said. Gowan's pitch count up to 26. This will be number 27. Olmo kept his hands back on one upstairs. Gowans has been up there. The 2-run homer by Amador. Only runs of the game so far. Though the White Sox have had some chances. They had runners at first and second back in the fourth. First and third in the fifth. Nothing yet. Gets one on the ground. And it'll be Bergola to make the play. Scoops it over to Elko and one away. Sox fans head to the ballpark Saturday, March 29th, as the White Sox take on the Angels at 1 o'clock. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a 1907 replica jersey presented by Rush. There it is. It looks awesome. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/promos.
Connor, we're talking about guys like Braden and George, and, there's a common theme when it comes to these guys and just their work ethic. And, we've talked about this. When have a White Sox organization that's going through a rebuild and you're trying to establish a culture, these are the type of guys that you want to be the foundation of your organization moving forward.
Hard shot out to right again, puts Veras on the move. Flattens out the route, makes a catch, and now 2 away as Gowans is back under control. Yeah, I think we have so much more technology now than even 5 years ago to measure spin rates and exit velocities and bat speeds. And kind of that next frontier for organizations as they build their futures is measuring the clubhouse chemistry. And I know that kind of sounds weird, but teams are putting resources into who's going to mix with whom. How can you tell who's good at what in terms of the off-field stuff?
Yeah, and I think when you look at talented players and you're like, oh, let's put as many talented players on one team. Like, yeah, that seems like the cool thing to do. But when you have a sport like baseball, it's all about people underestimate how important chemistry and camaraderie is in a clubhouse. Guys that want to not just prove themselves but play for each other. And we talked about it earlier on this broadcast is, you see a group of young guys that are hungry, but also in that big league clubhouse, a lot of veterans that are looking to revamp their career and really prove themselves. And, sometimes that's all it takes is just a little belief. Guys that, want to get down and dirty and just just trying to find ways to help the team win. My dad, he always said when he played, it's when you take the pressure off yourself and when you're thinking about, okay, this at bat, how can I get on base? How can I help my team be in a better position than where they were before? That's when you're going to be at your best.
Yeah, and at the big league level, as the White Sox kind of put that offense together, I think that's going to be the approach as much as anything else, right? It's making sure that on the margins, they're doing everything they can right to push runs across. We're looking at some of the youngsters here now, but we could probably count them up for you, but 4, 5, maybe even 6 guys here today that are going to be part of that effort in Chicago in 2025. You're looking at the nameplate of Colson Montgomery at shortstop. And if you're just tuning in, he's made a great play on defense. He'll start the year at Charlotte, but he's one of the guys looking to take a job as soon as he can. Liner back up the middle. Gowans out of the way, at least as much as he could. Some hard contact here against Riley Gowans in the 6th. A double and a homer started the frame. And that's Sterling Thompson taking one back up the box for a 2-out single. Warming Bernabel, the first baseman, will be the next hitter, but he'll face a new White Sox hurler. Sergio Santos out to take the ball from Gowans, and we'll bring in a new pitcher for the Sox. We'll tell you all about him when we come back. 2-0, Rockies lead it. More breakout game on the other side. Addison Coffey on to work for the White Sox. 2 away, a 2-0 ball game. Rockies lead it in the 6th. Coffey, 26 years old, right-hander. 3rd-round draft pick of the White Sox in the 2020 draft. Went to Wabash Valley in Mount Carmel. Some local cred for Addison Coffey, whose first pitch to Warren Bernabal misses up.
Hey, Connor.
Chuck.
Is Coffey your favorite player?
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, he's on the list. Certainly if he makes the bigs.
It fits your personality and your drinking tastes.
That's right.
You know, Chuck, I'm surprised he didn't have a cup of coffee before this game.
Sometimes discretion is the better part of valor. But I've got one under the desk. My drop makes a good play from third to get the
Are
Rockies
we roasting you, Connor?
put away. Let's get to know your Sox. 2-0. Rockies lead the White Sox here in the breakout game. And Brooke Kyle Teal, you got to know him a little bit.
He's like an onion. You just got to pull back the layers a little bit. You're always learning something new about Kyle Teal. So his favorite karaoke song, guys, is Tequila, not the one by Dan and Shay, by the Champs here. And it's funny, Connor, because we just looked it up. How many times is Tequila mentioned in that song?
3 times.
So interesting choice, Kyle, for a karaoke song here, but we respect it. His favorite emoji is the one with the sunglasses. He said he likes to use it when he's just chilling, you know,
Yeah.
just hanging out.
Yep.
And what is the last one was his most interesting snack combination. And this is a little controversial.
A little?
Because read it right there. You are reading that right. That is not a typo. He likes dill pickle, sunflower seeds, and sour Skittles.
And that's at the same time.
It's at the same time. Yes. So I did try this on one of our broadcasts because I thought this had to be something that I had to give it a go. And let me tell you, it's not good. It's not good.
Bergola lifts one out to left and drops it just inside the line. Puts on the Jets, and a misplay out there in the corner by Thompson is going to allow a double to start the inning for the Sox.
All right. What an interesting combination.
I think we start off with like a handful and like one Skittle. Let's just start there.
One Skittle?
I gotta
Okay.
figure this out too.
How are you, and you just put, like, are you eating the whole seed?
Well, I mean, it's just for the flavor. Like, you could honestly spit out the Skittle. It's just for like the.
Oh, got it. Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is really good. What are you talking about?
Kyle,
Are you chewing?
am I not supposed to chew?
No.
What am I supposed to do?
You're gonna suck on the seeds. This is awesome snack.
So good. It's so good, Kyle. I'm questioning you. Okay.
I'm putting another one.
Another Skittle?
Oh yeah.
They're not supposed to chew. That's the thing.
This is a delicious snack. You're crazy if you don't like this.
I would love for people to try this at home. This is, because I don't see it, Kyle.
2 Skittles per handful. 2.
Okay, the 2. I think you need to add more Skittles.
No.
Yeah.
That's a little crazy.
No, 2 Skittles. 3. It
Okay.
makes it so much better. All right. I still don't like it. I still don't like it.
It makes it at least somewhat bearable. Not better, bearable. I love how offended he got. Okay, so after the game, this was when he was like, I think the ratio is off. He's like, we got to try it again. So this was him trying to redeem himself, Connor, and unfortunately, he was not able to because it was not great.
I respect that you gave it a go. I mean, that was pretty impressive. I don't know that I probably just would have watched Kyle eat the snack there. That's not my. But I'll tell you this, Kyle Teal's got a really good chance to make the bigs this season, and there should be a sunflower seed and Skittle combo at the ballpark when he does. Bergola down to third as he displays the wheels that got him 27 stolen bases last season.
That lightning tattoo wants to be the Flash there. Yeah, I made Kyle try my favorite snack, Connor, a little sweet and salty action. Popcorn.
Yeah.
With M&Ms.
Oh.
I said, this is a good combination. Have you tried that before?
No, you know, I haven't. Teal takes up and in. Herrera's been up and in on Teal pretty much this entire at bat. No, I haven't. I like the, caramel and cheddar mix, the Chicago mix, that kind of thing. I've not put the M&Ms in there myself. I'd be willing to try it.
Kyle's a big foodie.
Yeah, I think what I appreciate about it is he's very passionate about his takes. And I think that's all you can ask for in this day and age, right? If you got a take, you got to stand by it.
He's actually a big, New Jersey guy. Are you on social media by chance?
I am.
Okay, the deli guy. He's a big deal on social media. It's actually his godfather, and he runs Parkwood Deli, okay? And Kyle says he keeps him, very well fed in the off season. Maybe put on a few LBs, but he said, these are the LBs that he needs. But he would eat there daily. His go-to is the Jet sandwich. It's chicken parm and fresh mutts. Fresh mutts. I'm not Italian.
Fresh mutts.
Mutts, but he said you can't say mozzarella. It's fresh mutts.
Okay, all right.
Please don't come after me.
No,
if you
never
are
would.
watching the show and you know the correct way to pronounce it.
We're just trying to bring the cultures to the people. That's all we're trying to do.
We're just trying. I told him there's plenty of good sandwiches in Chicago.
Yeah, you can get a good sandwich just about anywhere, and I appreciate that that's the diet for Kyle in the offseason. Listen, as a catcher, you got to come in at the right weight because you're going to lose a lot over the season. The gear's heavy, and the sun is hot. Sox backstop Edgar Caro with runners at first and third. Chance for the Sox to score here. Let's head down to the field, though. We've got Chuck Garfien.
Yeah, I want to talk about the baseball smarts of William Bergolla. It's 10 out of 10. He notices that there's no one covering third. I'm just going to take a bag. Why not? Shows the speed and hustles over there. That was with nobody out. There is still nobody out. So a fly ball into the outfield, he's scoring just because of that heads-up play by William Bergolla.
Yeah, you got to be confident. Nobody out, going from second to third. You're in scoring position already. So he knew. I think it tells you he knew William was going to be able to make that move from second to third. Caro from the right side. Under one and into right. Twisting toward the line. Bergolla will tag. The throw is off. The slide is in time. And the White Sox have cut into this 2-0 lead.
He makes it look easy, doesn't he?
He flies.
And it's hard to believe that he was flying under the radar coming into spring training. I mean, not many people were talking about him, and his name was getting mentioned left and right, and suddenly we saw him in the big league games. We're like, this kid. And that's not to say that people weren't noticing him before, but not putting enough credit, I feel like, on his name and what he can bring to a team.
Who knows where things are going to go over the course of a season, and baseball's difficult, all that stuff. But with as many trades as the White Sox made over the last 12 months, the Tanner Banks deal is the one that brought William Bergolla over, and he has produced here in spring. Colson Montgomery takes a strike. Man aboard, that's Teal at first after walking. 2-1 our score in the sixth. Saw some of the best arms in the Sox system already. And Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz. We got more from the White Sox front office coming your way as this game goes on. Paul Yanish, the farm director, Gene Watson, assistant general manager, going to join us here as we get into the later innings. We'll talk about some of the guys that weren't in this game but might factor a little bit in some of the minor league reports. We've talked about the possibility of a lot of guys graduating from those prospect lists as they get to the big leagues this season.
Well, we've talked about Colson and what he does on the field, the work he was putting in this offseason, but he also has a new addition to the family. This is Zeus, everybody, his little dachshund that he got this offseason off of Craigslist. And actually, there was a woman who went through a breakup, and she was like, you know what, I have to get rid of this dog. And Colson said, I was a little hesitant getting a dog off of Craigslist, because we know
that makes some sense. Yeah,
Craigslist is really trustworthy.
The right kind of hesitation.
Yeah, but he was like, you know what, everything went smoothly, and now he has a new addition to the Montgomery family. But I asked him, Zeus for a little dachshund. He's like, yeah, I love the contrast there. A really masculine name for a tiny dog.
Craigslist used to have the missed connections. I don't think that's probably where he got the dog, but feels like it. I'm glad, despite the strikeout, I'm glad Colson Montgomery's out here, kind of healing hearts, having a place for the dog after a tough breakup like that. Tough strikeout for Colson. Went upstairs for one. Braden Montgomery for the third time. 0 for 2. Both Montgomerys for the White Sox have made very good defensive plays today. Both have been a little susceptible to stuff up in the zone. And I think that's something that we're going to watch. You know, we've talked about what the development curves for a couple guys look like already, but for Braden and for Colson, at different points in their minor league development, it's going to be about their strike zone discipline, understanding what they can do damage to and where that needs to be in the zone for them to swing.
Colson said that was a good opportunity in the Arizona Fall League, you know, not just for him, but for all players, just to kind of hit a reset button. You know, he wasn't really happy with how he totally performed last season.
Teal makes a move, but is gunned down by Brian Betancourt. Sox get one. (2-1) our score. Rockies lead the White Sox here in the breakout game. Connor McKnight, Brooke Fletcher, and Paul Yanish, White Sox Director of Player Development, Farm Director, a man who knows who's pitching right now, which is helpful because sometimes in these games the numbers don't match the nameplates. But Jake Eater is a name well known to many. He's pitching now for the White Sox. Paul, you know, obviously this spring has been, you know, really big on the development side. The White Sox here in this move to bring some of the young talent up. Some of the names that you've seen kind of feature here and have impressed are whom?
Yeah, no, it's been a fun spring training up to this point, and we do have some new faces from the trade during the offseason, and then just some of the trades last year during the summer. So it has been a lot of fun, and incorporating the draft class from last year as well with their first spring training. And yeah, so we're the backfields are a buzz over there.
That's what you want. We saw Noah Schultz and Hagen Smith both work 2 innings scoreless in this game. Where do you think the assignments for those two could be? Because obviously, you know, last year with Hagen coming into the draft and Schultz working on every 6 days or so, this would be a big next step for both guys.
Yeah, for sure. Noah's likely going to start his year in Birmingham, and for him this year is really just about getting on that 5-day rotation and the recovery involved with that, and getting through the year healthy, obviously. But you know, ultimately just getting him as ready as he can be to be on a major league schedule for when that time comes. And with Hagen, it's, you know, it's going to be his first full season, and so he'll be adjusting to the schedule as well. And you know, where he starts we'll see exactly, but I do think it's going to be beneficial for those guys as they've become very close to play together as much as they can. So we'll see how that unfolds.
You know, when you're taking a look at Noah, Hagen, and just the prospects that you have in this system, what are you seeing from these prospects, and what kind of player do you want as you're going through an organization that's really trying to find its identity?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, obviously, is ability, right? And both of those guys have it. And, you know, the thing that gets talked about a lot with both of those guys is the makeup, you know, the off the field, you know, the way that they carry themselves, the way that they treat other people and teammates, et cetera. And, you know, when you're talking about what hopefully will become the core of a major league team, you know, rotation and or clubhouse, is, you know, those are some of the things that are also very important. And but at the end of the day, the ability is going to get them to the big leagues, and, you know, we're excited about that process.
What's the biggest area of growth that you're emphasizing for, you know, the guys in this farm system on and off the field?
Yeah, I think just the opportunity to compete is where we're at. You know, we are valuing the, you know, like I referenced, the character off the field, and I know that's really important to Chris and the entire front office. And because, like, referencing like we were, you know, down the road, hopefully when they're at the major league level, and, you know, when you start having to make decisions about hopefully contract stuff for who you want to be a part of the team long term and those types of things, you know, those are some of the things we're highlighting on the minor league side as well, so that, you know, when they do get to the big league level, we know who they're going to be.
Chuck Garfien had Ryan Fuller, the director of hitting for the White Sox, on a little earlier. What's been the process of working that new position and an idea of bringing that you know, kind of hitting philosophy all the way through the entire system this year?
Yeah, you got to give Ryan a lot of credit. He and I have had the opportunity to exchange quite a bit, and he's done such a good job in a short period of time of establishing, you know, relationship equity with the staff and the players. But ultimately, it's just having consistency, so the players know what to expect, and, you know, what's valued, and over the course of time what's promoted. And, you know, he feels very strongly and about some of the stuff that he's brought in, and honestly, and I think he referenced it earlier, but it's fairly simple. It is about, you know, taking the ball, swinging at the strikes, and trying to do damage when you get the strikes.
Let's talk a little bit about Jake Eder, who's working for the Sox right now. Came over to the White Sox in a trade that sent Jake Berger to Miami a little while back. Jake has some serious stuff, one of the best lefties in the minors before injuries affected his development path. What have you seen from Jake this spring? What's been the ask of him?
Yeah, he's, really just looks more comfortable this spring up to this point. He, like you referenced the injuries in the past, and I think he's had trouble kind of getting his footing over the course of an entire season, up to this point in his career, which is tough at the minor league level and for a pitcher in particular. But he seems to be in a very good headspace, and we're excited about him. Obviously made his major league debut last year, but he's in a position to go down and start the season in Charlotte likely, and get it when his opportunity comes, be ready for it.
You mentioned he made an appearance in the bigs. How do you find that balance of player development, but also trying to find that urgency to get a player to the bigs?
Yeah, it's a really tough thing, tightrope to walk, and it's different for every player, to be honest with you. And that's one of the benefits that we're likely to have for the guys that are close to the major league level is them getting the chance to get a little more runway because of where the organization's likely at. And but it's tough, and I do think that I've had this conversation with Chris and some of the guys that they get the chance to go to the major league level and have trouble adjusting the first time, and they go back down to the minor leagues and come back up and then are a little bit more comfortable and have more success. And I think Lenny Sosa is a good example of that last year. He struggled a little bit early and went down, came back up, and obviously finished the year very strongly. So all of those variables we take into consideration, but it's they're not all the same. So we got to do a good job of trying to treat them individually.
Cole Messina, who's now catching for the Rockies, takes a cut. Eder's thrown some good pitches while you've been talking to. Got Ryan Ritter to strike out for the first out of the inning. This game has gone so much past, I think, the scouts versus stats conversation when it comes to development. But there's no doubt that we've got a whole lot more technology to evaluate where guys are at. We used to talk a lot about Arizona. It's so tough to determine how good a guy's been.
It's a good throw.
Nice.
Got him.
Got him indeed. Paul Yanish saw it. He wouldn't lie to you. Good throw from behind the plate for Carroll. But how do you balance some of those numbers that we can put on guys with the technology we've got versus the scouting perspective when you see plays like this?
Yeah, it's with where the game is at, I think it is valuable to have a little bit of a hybrid approach, and the data is so valuable and so important with regards to evaluating, in particular the pitching. And what's what you can see through the data on that front. The position player side is catching up, and I do think that Chris has mentioned this a lot, but he values the player, the off the field, some of the intangible pieces as well. And so we try to do the best we can to evaluate both sides, to be honest. But the data's not going away, and Chris has made it very clear that that's important to him, and so as an organization we're doing the best we can to leverage it.
It's funny you mentioned just the off the field stuff, because that was like one of the first things I noticed coming in just a few weeks talking to this young guys. There's a type that you guys are looking for, and you kind of touched on it here, just high character guys.
Yeah, I think it just goes so far. Again, when you talk about adversity and dealing with it, those guys are going to, who's going to be there in the foxhole with you.
Paul, thank you so much. Eder with a strikeout. We'll be back with more in the breakout game here on CHSN.
Welcome back to Camelback Ranch. Chuck Garfine here with the two guys who opened this game. We got Hagen Smith, Noah Schultz. Just what was it like being on this field? Best prospects versus best prospects.
Yeah, it was really cool, getting to play with all the guys. We hadn't really all played together for a while, and to get play against them. They have great prospects, too. It was really fun.
Yeah, it was great. Great to see all the guys here. I think it's the first time we've had, this whole group together, and it's pretty cool. It's a glimpse of the future, and we're all excited.
All right, so, Hagen, I'm not going to ask you about how you pitched. I'll start with how did you think Noah pitched?
I thought he threw well. I only saw second inning because I had to go back down to the bullpen and throw. But it was a quick first because he finished really quick when I was still throwing. But, yeah, I thought he threw good in the second inning.
What do you think about Hagen?
Hey, for me, my first, when he was throwing, I was starting to warm up. But it went a lot quicker. So I was like, all right, he's doing well, clearly. Definitely going to go back and watch both of our outings. Yeah.
No hits, obviously 4 scoreless innings combined for both of you. How do you like throwing to Edgar Carroll?
I love it. Getting thrown to him more is awesome. Trying to talk to him and kind of figure out what he likes, what do I throw, and trying to figure out what I like too.
Great. It's my guy. I was with him for a decent amount of games last year before he got sent to Charlotte. We definitely, I think, have a great connection. I'm excited to throw to him for the future.
All right, so the one run that's been scored by the White Sox, a lot has to do with William Bergolla. Gets on base, steals that bag, scores on a sac fly. You guys have been around him a lot. What have you seen from William Bergolla?
Like you just saw, just plays really hard, really good baseball IQ, and he impacts the game in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I haven't seen him, or I haven't been on the field with him because he was in Winston after I got set up to AA. But he's electric. It was great. Single, stretch it to a double, steal third, and get in. That's how you generate runs. I think that's a core piece of the game. Great to have him on our side. Yeah.
All right, so I know you guys don't like to hear about exit velocity unless it's really low. But George Walco had a hit. Do you want to guess what that exit velocity was?
113.
You say 113. Okay, that's a high number. What do you got?
I'm going to go 115.
It's 114. You guys surrounded it.
Closest without going over.
You watch Price is Right?
Price is Right, yeah.
So you're the winner. Congratulations. I don't know what you win. You win. You're very accurate. You could be a scout after your game, your career is over. Braden Montgomery made a great catch. To have defense behind you, how important is that?
It's awesome. I actually get to play with Braden now. I played against him in college, so it's nice having him on our team now.
Okay, you did face Braden Montgomery. What happened?
I can't remember. I think I had a good game, but he also had really good at-bats too. I played against him my freshman year and junior year, so I've known about him for a long time. He's a great player.
And then just having the defense behind you. By the way, I'm impressed with your defense. There was a play you made. I think it was your debut. It was a slow roller right in front of the mound. You turned around. What do you think about the importance of defense and how you use your athleticism to make it happen?
Yeah, I know it's pretty funny, but all my friends back home, they're like, you're unathletic, and they're like, look at you running, and I'm like, just watch. I think that's something you definitely put work into. We do PFPs pretty often. I think it's definitely something that it's good to have in your back pocket so that when easy outs happen like that you can go through them.
You have friends saying you're not athletic. Who are these friends?
I'm not going to name drop anybody, but they know who they are, and I'll send them this if I don't know if it gets out somewhere.
Or send them the clip of what you did in your debut here in Cactus League.
Yeah, I don't know. They're probably, they're great supporters of me, but I'll definitely send it to them.
Okay. So we don't know where you guys are going to start. You were in AA. Actually, Paul Yanish said on the air you'll probably be in AA. But what would it be like for you guys just to grow together, if not in the minor leagues, certainly throughout your careers?
Yeah, it'd be really cool. We've been throwing together since camp started, so I'm just trying to ask him what looks good, and just it'd be awesome just to push each other during the season.
How about the bond you guys have been forming here so far?
Yeah, it's great. I think it's a good start. I think that this year, whether we're on the same team or not, I think there's a good chance we are. I think that definitely time will tell, and I think that'll only get stronger as we go.
Thanks, guys. Hagen Smith, Noah Schultz going to break here on CHSN. Back with more from the spring breakout game after this.
Sox fans, bring your family to the ballpark with a family pack presented by ExxonMobil. Starting just $19, each family member gets one ticket, hot dog, drink, bag of chips, cookie, plus a souvenir 125th anniversary water bottle. For tickets, visit whitesox.com/family. Got part of the White Sox family in the front office. Joining us here in the booth, Gene Watson, Assistant General Manager, hanging out with us here in the 8th. Gene, thanks so much for stopping by.
Good to see you both.
Let's get back to the big news for the White Sox today. We'll talk prospects soon enough, but you're in the room as the decision gets made for Sean Burke to be the opening day starter. We talked with Chris Getz about it some, but what pieces went into that decision as you provide some information on making that call?
Well, just the competitor that he is, one, and you look at his stuff and it grades out above average across the board. He's got a strong intelligence on the mound, really knows how to pitch, and it takes away a lot of guys are thinking about what's the next 10 days going to look like, and it just takes away a lot of questions and anxieties and allows him to settle in and just prepare for his opening start.
A lot of the regulars, or I guess I should say starters, out of the ballgame now is Nick McLean. Makes a really nice play in center field, some range, and a guy that can go all around. And Part of the reason we're glad to have you is because you know some of these guys a little bit better than the big prospects, or at least better than we know the big prospects. Tell us a little bit about McLean and that catch he just made.
Well, just an elite defender, premium position player. We're really excited to have him, and Mike Shirley and his group did a great job of not only identifying him, but you know, the Caleb Bonnemers, the Halen Smiths, the Blake Larsons. You know, that was a big part of that player acquisition and the vehicle to acquire players, and they've done a great job in that avenue.
I mean, he comes from a baseball family. He's got just this natural ability when you watch him play, huh?
Yeah, and I saw them all in high school, and they, I tell you what, they eat and sleep baseball. There's nothing else in that family, and they're a fun group to watch.
Zachary Franklin, meanwhile, working for the White Sox on the mound. A little bit of an older prospect, but a guy that has some promise too. What should we know most about Zach Franklin?
Well, just a sinker slider guy. You know, Brian Bannister and his group have done a great job of taking all of these pitchers and just identifying their strengths and creating a profile for them. And you know, he's one of those guys that we're excited about.
It's DJ Gladney out in left now as Wolkow's day is done. Hopefully we get a seeing at bat from Gladney here pretty soon, but one of the guys that came up through the White Sox ace system. We've known him for a very long time and part of that Double-A Birmingham team that won a championship, and a big reason why. He had the game-winning hit.
Yeah, it's a special group that was in Birmingham last year, and that's when you're trying to create what we're trying to create right now, the winning environment in the minor leagues, and guys like him, you know, a strong leader, great makeup, and certainly has the tools to be a great player. It's good when you can pull off a championship like that.
Gene, you talk about how you're, you know, building a successful organization here, and you've done it in the past at different organizations here. What's the biggest challenge about building something successfully?
Well, you got to have great vision, and Chris certainly has that. He's brought on some tremendous front office members in Josh Barfield, Jen Wong, Paul Yanish, Brian Bannister, just great minds within the industry that have all been a part of successful organizations. And so when you know the blueprint for success, it makes it a little bit easier. And then you just put your head down every day and you go to work and you look at each vehicle of acquisition, whether it's the draft or minor league free agency, the Rule 5, international signings, and just in a calendar year, what I believe we've been able to do with each vehicle has been really impressive. From the draft, the guys we got, from the young players we got in trade, like Chase Mead-Mydroth and William Bergola and Kyle Teal, Braden Montgomery, and then you look at the international classes with Alejandro Cruz or Orlando Patino. I mean, every vehicle that we could possibly improve this organization in the past year, we really have. And you just keep putting your head down every day and doing the best you can to filter through players and keep hoping you get the results each day. And when the year ends, you know, after a few years, you look up and you got a great major league team.
I mean, you can't leave any stone unturned, right? When you're looking to bring guys in and from every angle, you've got to do the homework, and you guys have definitely proven to do that.
Yeah, we've got a great process with Matt Grabowski and his R&D group, and Dan Fabian works tirelessly on, you know, the player pools and identifying players, and we have great synergy between our amateur department, our pro department, our international department, and so we've kind of collectively all come together in the last year, and there are no bad ideas, and we do what we can to examine every player that comes across the desk every day.
You mentioned examining a player. What are certain skill sets or type of player you're looking for when it comes to the future of this organization in particular?
Well, certainly it's the competitiveness and the makeup of the player. We're looking for championship-type players that are going to help us win championships in October. And then you get down to the tools, the statistics, the role, the makeup, and the risk of the player, and you break down each player every day in those categories, and there's certainly context to every acquisition that you have. And so you just try to get together collectively and make the best decisions each day on every player.
You know, I want to go back to a player that you mentioned in Chase Mead-Mydroth here. You know, Chuck, he had a great conversation with him. Guys are calling him a dirtbag. You know, just with the way he plays, a dirtbag in a good way.
In the best way.
In the best way. But how would you just describe what you've seen from him and the type of competitor he is?
Chase is impressive. I mean, he comes out of the facility every morning out to the cages, and he is super focused on doing one thing, and that's getting better as a baseball player. And when you have conversations with him, it's always about improving. It's about what he can do better today to be a good baseball player.
High fly to right, off the top of the wall, so the Rockies will get at least one more. Sox will scoop it up and haul it in. It's Gonzalez to pull it in on the relay. And into third goes Kyle Karros, son of a big leaguer. Not sure if Dad is watching from Japan. That's where he's working this weekend. But certainly a proud moment there. Kyle Karros from the baseball family, too. You know, Gene, you talk about some of the work that you do on each and every acquisition, right? And I think it's important for White Sox fans to know that this is a team effort. All of you are doing that same kind of homework and checking that work. I wonder if you can kind of take us through that process a little bit of how it goes kind of up the chain and how those decisions, you know, whether it's a Rule 5 pick or a minor league addition kind of work.
Yeah, we have great communication, not only in our departments, but with other departments. And it's really just, you know, here's the list of players and getting everybody's opinion of it, and then attaching the risk to it and the acquisition cost to it. And I would say that that's probably been the most joyful part of the job is that, you know, like Shane Smith in the Rule 5 draft, in separate exercises, he was the player that everybody identified as the #1 candidate. And that's when you really feel good about your processes and the people involved in them. And so you just continue to communicate. You're not always going to agree on things, but at the end of the day, you present the player the best possible way you can. You present the context, you know, what the shelf life of it is. Is it a short shelf life? Is it something that we need to give a little more time to? And then you attach the, you know, does it fit? Because there's a rhythm to every acquisition. Does it fit? And if it doesn't, you move on. And if it does, you take a shot.
Fly ball to right, and that'll end the inning. Sox trail 3-1. Gene, thanks so much for the time. Always a pleasure.
Thank you guys so much.
Gene Watson back with more here in Glendale.
All right, Chuck Arthine back here at Camelback Ranch here with George Wolko here. And so, first time in your life batting ninth. Was that today?
Yeah, first time probably ever batting ninth, playing left field.
Well, you got a hit here today. First time, actually, you hit to the warning track. Do you want to guess the exit velocity on your hit?
Well, I already know.
Oh, yeah. So, you know what?
Schultz and Hagen came up to me, and Schultz had to let me know that Hagen guessed lower than what Schultz guessed, and lower than what it was. So I had to give Hagen some talk just because he was doubting me. So
I love the camaraderie that I am actually responsible for, because I quizzed both of them. But the fact that they were like surrounding that number is pretty impressive. They had an idea what it was.
That's cool. Yeah, I mean, they both are really good players. I'm sure they got a good IDAR.
So this was your second time ever playing on this field. The first time was what, yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday, backed up the game, got an AB, and so first time yesterday, second time today. Yeah.
What do you mean play in this game? Big prospects versus big prospects.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome. Really cool that MLB is able to kind of set up this event for the prospects and showcase them. And then just, you know, there's a lot of guys on this team that are going to debut this year, and there's a lot of guys that I'm not going to play with this year. So just having an opportunity to suit up with them means a lot.
Speaking of which, you're from Downers Grove. You're wearing a White Sox uniform. How does that feel?
Yeah, I mean, that's dream come true. You know, it means the world to me. It means more than, you know, a lot of people might think. And so, yeah, I mean, anytime you get to put the pinstripes on and kind of put this uniform on, you know, it means everything.
Right, so I'm at the batting cage yesterday. You're there. Who pulls up in a cart but Bo Jackson, the Bo Jackson. And you went up to him, you introduced yourself, and you asked him a question. What did you ask him?
Yeah, I for one, I wanted to be able to talk to him, so that was really cool. He was able to be there, and I asked him what his why was. You know, like I said, Bo, like, what is your why? You know, the days you didn't want to come to the field, the days you were hurt, and the days you were, you know, struggling mentally, like, why did you go so hard? Why did you show up? So, yeah, I mean, just to be able to pick someone's brain like that is unbelievable. Yeah.
And you even coming up with that question, the why thing. Where did you get why from?
Yeah, it was a question that Donovan Clark, one of our sports performance coaches, brought up to us during performance camp in the fall. And he was like, he asked people, and he's like, what is your why? And it's kind of, the room was kind of silent. And it's like guys were kind of afraid to speak up. And then he kind of went off and told us his why. And, you know, how long his journey's been to get where he's at now. And so, you know, I think that really resonated with me and, you know, sat with me because it's a long year. There's a lot of ups and downs in baseball. And, you know, when things aren't going your way or things are going your way, how are you going to be the same person? And so I think it was cool. You know, Bo's had a lot of ups and downs in his career, even though it's been an amazing career. And so it's cool just to, like, I think if you can know your why, know your purpose, and really have a purpose and a why you're showing up to the field every day, even on the days you don't want to, I think that you can play the game for a lot longer.
You just turned 19. Look out, we got a ball coming our way. We're good. You just turned 19 in January, and I was wondering, someone your age, would you know who Bo Jackson is? Well, I met your dad, Nate, and he told me, we're talking about Bo Jackson, that when he was a senior, his senior photo was him doing the Bo Jackson poster with the bat. So you're aware of this?
Yeah, I'm aware of this. I've seen the photo. My dad's crazy, and he looks crazy in the photo. And so, yeah, I mean, it's Bo Jackson. Everybody. Bo knows.
Bo knows. Bo knows baseball. Bo knows all. You were playing left. Braden Montgomery was playing center. He made that great catch, and I saw you guys were running off the field together with the biggest smiles on your face. What did that mean, just to have your teammate make a catch like that?
Yeah, I mean, Braden's just such a stud, and I'm in left field. And ball's sinking low liner. I'm running full speed. I got your back. Braden dives, makes the catch, and I'm probably more fired up than he is. He's a great person. It's my first time actually being able to be in a game with him. So I was really excited for that. Have the opportunity to go out there, play with him, and yeah, I mean, that's an unbelievable catch by him with a runner in scoring position, 2 outs, and 2. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna hype my guy up.
And then Nick McClain made that great catch in the outfield. For White Sox fans who don't know much about him, what can you tell us about the kind of game that he plays?
Yeah, me and Nick been fortunate to be in the same work group in minor league camp, and so we've been getting after it together. And I mean, yeah, the kid's a gamer. Him getting in after sitting for the first 7 innings and tracking on a ball in the gap like that, and a couple steps away from the wall, not even hesitating. I mean, that just shows the type of player he is. And we're in a backfield game earlier this week, and there was a Cy Young third place finisher named Seth Lugo on the mound for the Royals. Nick takes him to like a 7-pitch, 8-pitch AB and slaps a double down the line in the first AB. And it's kind of like, oh, we have to face Seth Lugo today. And Nick steps up to the box, does his thing, and it's like, that just shows you the kind of player he is. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun being able to work out with him in minor league camp.
Well, it's been fun watching you guys play and your career so far. Looking forward to what you have this season for the White Sox in the minor leagues.
For sure. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate it.
All right. Back up to you guys.
Chuck, George, thank you so much. That's some good stuff from 19-year-old George Wolkow, Downers Grove native. You hear how much it means to him to be part of this game, part of this organization, and he's probably a 5-tool guy when it comes to the broadcast ability, too. That's some solid stuff from George.
How about the wisdom, the why to Bo Jackson? His interaction was a little better than mine with Bo Jackson yesterday. I was a little starstruck.
Well, I wasn't going to air you out or anything like that. But listen, when 2 war eagles approach one another, the fanning out is absolutely fine. I get it.
George handled that a lot better, but I just love how he's just trying to, he's a sponge. Just, he knows, he's confident in who he is and the talent he brings, but capitalizing on those opportunities when you got a guy like Bo Jackson, one of the best to ever do it, and just picking his brain on what makes a player great. And Pollyanna, she didn't say that here, but he wants him to visualize not just making the big leagues, but being great in the big leagues.
Jaden Hill with some strikeouts for the Rockies. White Sox trail 3-1. Hey, join us for Kids Opening Day on Sunday, March 30th, and kick off the 2025 season with a day full of fun. Enjoy on-field pregame parade, face painters, balloon artists, poster design stations, southpaw appearances, and more. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/promos. Eric Adler on to work for the White Sox here in the 9th. White Sox trail the Rockies 3-1, and well, this is a big league issue, right? You got the pitch comm not quite working yet. See if we can recharge it, turning it off, turning it back on. That's always a good start. Let's see what happens here. Adler and Carroll get things squared away. A couple of changes for the White Sox. DJ Gladney, Caleb Bonnemer, all getting at bats here in this last inning. We just heard from George Wolkow, who has been lifted from this game, but had himself a hit. Some serious exit velocity. Adler, 24 years old, out of Melbourne, Florida, went to Wake Forest University, 6th-round pick of the White Sox in the 2022 draft. Adler reached Double-A last season and is one of the bullpen arms that might be in the mix down the road a little bit, but still perhaps part of the opportunities for the White Sox in 2025.
Yeah, he was sent to the Arizona Fall League for, additional experience from last season. He actually left early. He played for Team USA in Japan with Tim Elko. So what an incredible experience for him. you know, you're talking about the position, the changes at different positions here, but Caro just staying 1 through 9 here.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be all 9 for Edgar. Swing and a miss and a high one from Bernabal. I think that's, you know, we talk about pitchers getting stretched out as spring goes on. Catchers, I'm not saying it's the same thing, but you got to get used to catching all 9 too. I mean, it's a punishing physical position. Caro's getting all of it today. Swing and a miss. You see Adler flashing some stuff. Back in the fight now at 2-2. It is Jacob Gonzalez at short for the Sox as well. So anything on the ground and to the left side, I'll see a first-round pick for the White Sox. Perhaps get a chance at a ball in play. We had Gene Watson, assistant general manager, here in the booth, and you know the inning moved fairly quickly. We got to talk about a lot of young players, and I think Jacob Gonzalez could be one that, you know, maybe features a little bit in some prospect reports as the year goes on.
He's a really good player, and you know had a lot of success at Ole Miss there. But you know it's his position. It's very competitive within the minor league system. But you know he's definitely been a standout within the system over the last few seasons.
Adler plunks one, and will send the leadoff man to first on a hit by pitch.
Sox fans, we hope you're enjoying this free preview of the Chicago Sports Network. And remember, you can watch your Chicago White Sox along with the Bulls and Blackhawks all season long right here on CHSN. Now available on DirecTV, DirecTV Stream, Fubo, and Uverse.
Well, coming up in the bottom of the 9th, it should be Teal, then Caro, and then Jacob Gonzalez. So 2 guys that have been in the ballgame the entire time, Teal and Caro, DH and catcher. Some of the top bats in this system too. And I just, you know, we'll break form a little bit. I'll let you know, peel back the curtain some. If it happens, I don't want Jacob Gonzalez to get up with 2 away and not be able to tell you this about one of the White Sox top prospects in this system. Gonzalez has been working on his swing a little bit more athletic in the box, a bigger leg kick. He's got a lot more comfortable there too. And, you know, after coming out of college and playing in just a little bit in affiliated ball with the White Sox, the struggles were there. But as a lefty swing, there's some pop in there too, and he'll be a guy to watch this season, whether it's going to be mostly at Birmingham or perhaps a lot at AAA Charlotte.
Where do you think would be the best fit for him?
You know, for Gonzalez, it's going to, I think, depend a bit on Colson Montgomery, right? Colson's going to get that start at AAA Charlotte. He's got to play short. You want to see him play as much as you can. We already watched Colson make a highlight reel play deep in the hole at short this afternoon. Runner goes. Adler steps off. Throw to second's in time. And the White Sox nab a base runner. Good communication. You can hear everybody in the dugout barking, letting Adler know that he had a man on the run. The Sox put one away.
Gonzalez is he's athletic though. Former quarterback. You know, if you mentioned the competition there at shortstop, he could potentially move, what, second base, maybe third?
You could see some third for him, too. High chopper. Here's a chance for Gonzalez. The throw on the bounce and not scooped at first. Tough play for Tim Elko. Tough play for Jacob Gonzalez, too. Listen, there's the range. There's the arm. A lot of guys will bounce that throw from short as well to give your first baseman a better chance at the play. Not sure whether that's what Jacob did or not, but on a high chopper like that, sometimes it's your only chance, with as long as that ball held in the air. So Kalaz is on. It'll bring up Andujar. 1 on, 1 out, a 3-1 ball game. But, you know, back to what we were talking about, where's the next step for Jacob Gonzalez? I wouldn't be surprised at all if and when Montgomery hits the bigs that Gonzalez kind of makes that next step up with him. Or I guess in tandem right behind him, moving up to AAA maybe.
Definitely someone they do see as one of the big pieces of the future of this organization.
Former first-round pick. Outside from Adler. Elko's played the whole game over at first. One of a couple that have been in here all day. A little cloud cover too, cooling down some at Camelback Ranch. It's been a beautiful day. Hopefully the White Sox prospects have something in them for a finish. Ground ball to second. Perez to Gonzalez. And Eric Adler rolls 2. Bottom 9 next. Sox need 2 to tie and 3 to win. Play the Sox Split 50-50 raffle presented by Wintrust for your chance to win big. $50,000 guaranteed jackpot. Keep on building through opening day on March 27th. Fans who play now will receive a special early bird pricing and automatically be entered to win a prize. Play now at whitesox.com/Sox Split. Valid for Illinois residents 18 and over. Which means that George Wolkow can just now play Sox Split. Out of the game now, but rooting on his teammates. Sox trail 3-1 to the Rockies here in the breakout game. Kyle Teal will lead off the 9th for the Sox. First pitch swinging. And looking to do some damage, too, up in the zone. Teal's been aboard with a walk. He's shown some patience. Tried to steal second base and just could not beat a good throw. Takes one outside. Plate discipline, a big part of Kyle Teal's game. And I think as you look back through the minor league numbers for Kyle, you will see that Double-A, I mean, he absolutely crushed Double-A. And Triple-A took a little bit of adjusting for him. The Sox will balance both Teal and Caro, probably, at Triple-A Charlotte to start this season, though that's not been determined yet. Guys in this roster, guys in this lineup, I should say, still playing for roster spots. Here's a look at the 2 catchers that highlight this White Sox position side. Kyle Teal and Edgar Caro. Get a challenge here. Seen a couple of those this afternoon.
Calls confirmed. Count is 2-2.
Challenge goes Teal's way. I think that's something that'll be really interesting to watch in the bigs if and when we get to the ABS, the challenge system there. You know, who's good at it, who's not. We're going to see a brand new skill set ranked. How good are you at challenging pitches?
It does bring a new level of drama to the game. An entertainment factor.
Well, you've been down here longer than I have, so I've been watching broadcasts on CHSN and trying to figure out how this ABS system is going to work. But for my money, it feels like the timing is just right. You know, it doesn't take too long to get that challenge call. It feels like something I wouldn't mind seeing.
Good eye there. Well, and I was curious, you know, how catchers were going to like the ABS system, because a huge part of their value is framing the strike zone. And so, you know, when I asked Corey Lee at Big League Camp, he actually welcomes it. He likes a good challenge. And so he's kind of had some fun, has a little tally system going to see if he can beat the ABS system.
3-2, Teal gets beaten. Caro will bat with one away as you see the two of them exchanging information.
You know, I mentioned we had a little Know Your Sox. His bucket list, of course, is to make his big league debut. For any prospects, of course, that would be top of the list here. I asked him if he were to be any animal. He said he would be a lion, because here's the thing with the lion. You know, it's not the biggest, it's not the strongest in the jungle, but they're the smartest. He said, work hard, work smarter, not harder.
Oh, I like that.
That's why he wants to be a lion.
Another challenge. The drama builds. So Caro ahead in the count. Missed by that much. I like work smarter, not harder for both of these young catchers. What was it? Right. It was Kyle Teal's go-to karaoke song was Tequila, where you say the word 3 times. Work smarter, not harder.
But it is a crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
I would imagine if I late night at a karaoke bar, I would be enjoying Tequila. Well,
Kyle comes
the
up.
Song Tequila.
We ought to find him a karaoke bar. Lord knows there's plenty of them in Chicago.
That is challenging the call of the strike.
We've got another one. So let's talk about the lion in the room, so to speak. I think what we are going to see, whether it's in the minors or perhaps in Major League Baseball when the challenge system is in, a lot of challenges late in games.
Yeah.
You might see a 3-2 pitch, get challenged, and instead of a called strike 3 to win it, we've got a challenge and waiting on it. I don't think it'd happen all that often. Everybody's shaking their head back there now. Home plate umpire Ray Patchen's been doing a solid job today. Arrow lifts one foul. Ahead in the count still.
It's battling.
Sox need to get a base runner on. On deck is Jacob Gonzalez. First round pick just a few years ago. It'll be his first cuts of the day. Carroll rips one, but foul. That's hops by Angel Rosario, Sox first base coach for the afternoon. He knows he's on. Carroll taking a timeout. Game's moved quickly. A lot of aggressive action from the hitters on both the Rockies and White Sox side of things. Some good pitching throughout. As Carroll taps it foul, we saw Hagen Smith and Noah Schultz both throw up 2 scoreless innings. All eyes will be on the pitching at Double-A Birmingham, if indeed you've got both Smith and Schultz starting their years there. Good move off the mound by Agnos. He'll flip over to first to get Carroll, and the Sox are down to their last out. There's Hagen. You know, both he and Noah are, I think it's fair to say, soft-spoken guys.
They are. I will say I spoke to them the beginning of spring training, and they were a little more soft-spoken, but they were quite talkative when they were talking to Chuck down there. But you said it, or you wrote it technically, that, you know, when they're not talking about themselves, I think that's the secret sauce there.
I think it's always a tell for players. If they're ready to open up and be, you know, praise their teammates, that is a very good sign. If you're more willing to talk about the other guys and the great stuff they've done, it's a very good thing.
Well, and it says a lot about them too and their character here. I'm just curious. I had an opportunity to talk to Larry Schultz when Noah was making his Cactus League debut. Oh, that ball was crushed.
Gonzalez hits one high, deep into the gap, but it'll be surrounded there and hauled in for the final out of the ball game. If you want more of that conversation Brooke had with Noah Schultz's dad, check out CHSN.com. You can find it there. Brooke, you know, fun game to watch a lot of the future and promising players for the White Sox. They lose 3-1, but you saw it all on display this afternoon.
Well, and I think this was an opportunity for fans to get excited, just to get a glimpse of what they can expect in the future. You know, we talked to people in the front office, just their thought process when it comes to recruiting, scouting, and, you know, what they want for the future of this organization. And this was the first time we saw this group out on the field, and you know, they definitely have a direction that they're going.
We'll watch that direction unfold over the rest of spring training and into the 2025 regular season. Brooke, thanks so much. Thanks to most of the White Sox front office who stopped by today. Chris Getz, Paul Yanish, Gene Watson, Chuck Garfine, everybody back in Chicago. Thanks to you for watching as well here on CHSN.